You found out we weren't alone. If someone showed you, proved it to you, would that frighten you? I don't think that this film holds up.
That's a failure of understanding modern cinema, I think.
Welcome to The Pestle, reviewing and breaking down movies to look for insights into the movie-making process. Hosted by Frank Johnson and Peter Bush. Let's get all up into some movies, y'all.
Welcome, everyone, to The Pestle. Today's show is brought to you by Quick Scribble. Don't be funny like today, you. Be actually funny like yesterday, you. With Quick Scribble. Welcome, everyone, to The Pestle. I'm Wes.
And I'm Todd.
And you know the deal. Full disclosure here, we're filmmakers, and we like to review and discuss films to see what they're doing on a, writing level, filmmaking level, and a number of other things that we walk away with to get better at the filmmaking process. And also because we just love movies. We've been watching movies for a very long time. Yeah, I will continue that thought in a moment. But first, Todd, what are we covering today?
Today we are covering Spielberg's new film, Disclosure Day. So if you haven't seen this film, please pause this episode and go watch it because we're going to spoil all this stuff. And this film just came out while we're recording this. It just came out like 2 days ago. So if you haven't seen it, go see it first.
Yep. We'll talk about a handful of things. I don't have a ton lined up on my side of things, but we'll at least touch on some of the story and writing and discuss modern adventure and sci-fi stories, as well as there's some blocking stuff that Spielberg is just one of the greats. And there was just a little simple blocking thing that I liked. And so on a cinematography level, I'll try to remember to talk about that and other such stuff and things and stuff.
And a quick synopsis of the film. If you found out we weren't alone, if someone showed you, proved it to you, would that frighten you? Directed by Steven Spielberg, screenplay by David Koepp, cinematography by Janusz Kaminski. I always mess up his name.
Janusz, yeah. So soft J.
Janusz.
Yeah, Janusz.
Yeah, Janusz. Featuring Emily Blunt as Margaret Fairchild, Josh O'Connor as Dr. Daniel Kellner, Colin Firth as Scanlon, Coleman Domingo as Hugo Wakefield, Eve Hewson as Jane Blankenship, and Wyatt Russell as Jackson.
And no soundbite. So continuing that thought, like we've been watching movies for a long time, and I have to think that Spielberg shaped to a very great degree how we think of modern movies. Like as kids, right? Maybe we watched Jaws, maybe we didn't. I don't know. That came out before we were born, but not long after that, I mean, Raiders and Indiana Jones writ large, and Jurassic Park, Goonies, E.T., and on it goes, let alone the stuff that he's produced and he didn't even direct. And it's just massive. I mean, huge. And so then, he's still doing it. Or a lifetime later.
Yeah. And
he's still making big films. We covered Close Encounters of the Third Kind a long time ago. And now it feels like his spiritual sequel, right? Disclosure Day. And so I'm curious, like, one, the impact that Spielberg has had on you think, and how Disclosure Day kind of lives up to that kind of legacy.
Yeah, I mean, he's the GOAT. I mean, you talk about a guy who loves movies, right? He loves the art, and he loves using everything at his disposal to tell a story, which is, a hallmark of a good director, but someone to be able to do it as long as he's done it and to make the seminal films that he's made just, speaks to how great he is. And it's interesting because like I've heard stories on sets about him and how wonderful he is to work with and how like fun like he is on set, and how he like best idea kind of wins kind of thing. And that's not always the case with a lot of directors. They have, a vision, and, it's your job to make that vision come to life, which is true, but, you have someone like Harrison Ford on a set will say, I don't think this is what would happen or whatever. And he's like, okay, well, what do you think would happen? And then they try it and it works or it doesn't or whatever. And I just love that because like the whole point of making films is is a communication with creative people in a space, right? And whatever comes out of that is the the output is what the goal is like what the win is. And to have the ability to see other people as creative, not just you that are on set, whether it's their job or not, I think is like awesome. His camera movement and choices are second to none. The guy is just, he tells a story with the camera so well. He surrounds himself with the best people, and he's just like, yeah, it's Steven Spielberg, man. I mean, E.T., Close Encounters, Indiana Jones, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan. Like, it just keeps going on and on and on and on. Some of the best movies in history.
Color Purple.
Are
like
him.
we've never touched on that. Like,
yeah,
so
we haven't
many.
even done that one.
So many.
Right? And so, like, if you look back at some of the best, like, most loved, also, like, most brutal films that you could think of, like, you're talking about just a huge swath of, like, of different styles of film, and this guy does it at the top level for all of them. Yeah. That being said, like, I have had, it's obvious if you've watched or listened to any of our other podcasts about Spielberg and me over the last, couple of years, I have just felt like that's been lost. And maybe I'm in the minority. Everyone loves Spielberg. I get it. But at the same time, you have to call a spade a spade. If this movie were to come out and you would have made it, right? Or somebody who is maybe like a lesser name would have made it, it would not be getting all the craziness. It wouldn't be getting people, excuse me, it wouldn't be getting people, raving about it. It just wouldn't. I don't think that this film holds up. And I think it is on par with what I've been seeing from Spielberg over the last couple of films. And it's really frustrating because I love him and I love his work. I love his body of work. I love his decisions most of the time. But there is just like this style that I see in Spielberg films that's vanilla, bubblegum, not even old school, because he didn't do this stuff years ago. I mean, when we covered The Post, one of the things that
we didn't cover it, but you and I.
Oh, we didn't? We
No.
just talked about it? Okay. Yeah. One of the things I hated was like all the lens flares. There's lens flares everywhere. Like, what is going on? This isn't like Star Trek. You're not like where you have to like throw lens flares everywhere. It's driving me crazy. And then some of the decisions of the characters in this film don't make any sense to me. Okay, well, one, we're talking about lens flares. At the end, when everybody is like holding their cameras up outside of the thing, why do you have your light on your camera? It's just going to create a glare on the glass. You're not going to see in. Turn your lights off, your flash off on your camera. Nobody's going to see anything. Why have that? Just because it looks good, but it doesn't make any sense. Nobody would be doing that. But that's a decision that like I don't understand. Not a character decision, just like a filmmaking decision. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Also, when Scanlon just decides, I'm just going to let her go, he doesn't say any reason why he's going to just like give up. He has sacrificed his whole life to stopping this from happening. He has killed. He has let other people die. He has killed aliens and experimented on them. And then he's just going to just say, and sit down and like let it happen without saying a word. That makes no sense to me. When what is it, Josh, who's the boyfriend, tries to save his girlfriend?
Oh, Jackson.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. When Jackson tries to, like, there are like 30 cars at the house at the field house.
Oh, yeah, Kellner.
No,
Yeah.
Kellner. Yeah, right. Yeah, Josh. Dr. Kellner. So, and there must be 50 people, if not more, and he's like sneaking up around a gate that's covered very lightly in vines, and nobody sees him. I mean, we don't even try to hide it in terms of the camera work, like, because we're coming behind him, we see there's massive gaps in this fence. There's 50 people on the other side of the fence, very close, and he's just, and we see them too. Why would you, like, if you're going to have him sneak up, why would you show everybody and show how they can see him very easily in the same shot? It doesn't make any sense. And then he goes around this fence. He's making so much noise, like, Jesus Christ, so much noise. And then he gets in a car and starts it, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, where did you come from? I don't get it at all. I get his motivation and the character's motivation, and I get that he succeeds. That's fine. Totally fine. In fact, I love that he succeeds, and I love how he gets away. I was thinking, like, how's he going to get away? There's so many cars. Maybe there's like a narrow gap that he like gets through or something. And that's exactly what happened. Like, in my mind, I kind of like solved it, and that's what happened. And that makes sense. I'm how they got away, but like how he gets into the car is ludicrous. And I was almost laughing in the theater. Like, there's no way that this would happen in real life. And I also know there's probably no way that, like, you know, there's a metal bar and someone can hold it and like make a house invisible. Sure. But that's fantastical. And we in a theater, like, let fantastical go, right? But realistically, there is no forgiveness. I have no forgiveness as an audience member if realistically you're making something that's realistically fantastical. Sorry. And I don't know a better way to put that other than that is a good example of him sneaking into that car, that cop car, and then, you know, driving in and saving her. But things like, you know, Scanlon, you know, basically body leaping into this, you know, this person, into his girlfriend, that's fantastical. I'll buy it. I'll buy it all day long because I have nothing to compare it to because it's impossible in terms of reality, right?
Yeah.
It's not impossible in terms of reality to sneak into a cop car and steal it when 50 people are around. You just got to make me believe it. And you don't. And then also, I just have not, I feel like I'm shitting on it, but I just got to say all these things because that's what we're here to do.
Yep.
I talked about the lens flares, but just in general, the lighting is like, how do I put this? The lighting is undramatic. It's anti-dramatic for me. Like it doesn't, there were some moments that I was like, yeah, okay, this feels real. Like the moment right after that scene that I was just talking about where he saves her and they go to the hotel room, and they're sleeping. The lighting is very dramatic and beautiful, and it's all the shots in that motel room are awesome. It's easier because it's dark. It's easier to make it kind of like moody and motivated and stuff, but where it really becomes difficult to make something feel dramatic or important is during the day, you know, because everything is bright, right? So how do you make things, you know, kind of like feel heavy or, you know, when it's supposed to be heavy? And I just feel like everything is way too bright. Not easy to see, but just like not gritty enough, not like messy. It needs to be messy. Like this whole thing is messy, and yeah. So I think the lighting wasn't doing it for me. It was really taking me out. Some of the dialogue was really taking me out. I mean, Emily Blunt is amazing. She's the best part of this movie. She's incredible. Like when she has her freak out in the train, she has her panic attack. I was having a panic attack with her. Like, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Her and Josh O'Connor are fantastic in this movie. I didn't even know who Josh O'Connor is. Like,
He's from
I'm sure he's been around.
Challengers. Yeah, we saw him in Challengers.
Oh, okay, I was like, where have I seen this guy? He's great, and I really like him. And his girlfriend,
Eve Hewson.
Yeah. Eve, she's amazing too. Like, the actors are great. The actors are great. But then you give Emily Blunt this line when she's with her boyfriend and they're at the gas station. And she's like, I'm just a conduit. I don't know. It's like when you do your music. And I was just like, what is happening right now? This is a throwaway scene that doesn't need to be this long. Like, why are we here? So, and then all of this was, okay, I think the marketing for this movie, the last thing I'll say, and I'll let you go. I'm sure you've got way better things to talk about.
I doubt it.
But the last thing I'll say is the marketing for this movie is very is a lot of misdirection.
Mm.
This is not a movie about aliens. This is a movie about our response to finding them.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
We don't ever see that. We don't see the response. You just said the synopsis. If you found out we weren't alone, if someone showed you, proved it to you, would that frighten you? We don't know. We don't know. But this movie was presented as like a continuation. It's like an alien story, an alien movie. Yeah, I mean, it is, but we don't really, it's not about the aliens. It's about a response to them. We barely ever see them. If we see them, it's on video until we see one in reality, in real life at the very end. And then the line is, what's the final line? Just like,
listen.
Listen?
Yeah.
Fine, I guess. Fine. But that's it. That's all we get. We don't see the response. We don't see how people respond, and maybe that's fine, but it shouldn't have been marketing. It shouldn't have been marketed as that. It would have been much more interesting, and I would have enjoyed it a lot more if I wasn't expecting more of, like interaction with this alien culture.
Yeah.
So if it would have been marketed more as a human, like kind of response, or human warring with this response, and it would have gone more broad than maybe a dozen people, right? Of knowing this, then now you got a story. But right now we've got like 20 people knowing about this, and they're just arguing with themselves of what's right and what's wrong. It has nothing to do with what I think. And so I can't identify with them.
Yeah.
And I don't kind of want to, because it's just me against 20 people, or like me and 20 people. It's not me and 20,000 people trying to deal with it, And I mean, and also, last thing, I love that she was a nun, and I love that she has this war of what's the purpose of God if we find this out. And I love his response to, I love all of that stuff because I'm really into it right now. But it's just said, and then it's kind of dismissed, and the story doesn't like pick that up really. So yeah, I have a lot of problems with the story. I have a lot of problems with the lighting. I have problems with the cinematography. Yeah, and it was enjoyable because I got to see it with my son. And anything, space or alien stuff is like pretty awesome to watch with him, but they don't even tie it into the real world very much, like to our world very much, which would have been cool to do. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, this is the classic, not to be super glib, but this is the classic, like, this whole movie could have been an email situation. It's just frustrating because I felt like this, where it ended is kind of where I expected it to begin. Like, based on the teaser that I saw in the trailer, like, I didn't see a full trailer ever. Like, I did see the teaser where we see Emily Blunt's character Margaret like slipping into the alien speech, and I was like, oh man, what is this? And really, until I bought the ticket, I didn't even know this was going to be about extraterrestrials. Like I thought maybe, but part of me, Disclosure Day could have been like AI is whatever, taking over any number of directions I was open to. But when I went to buy the ticket, it made a comment in the like the tagline, something about extraterrestrials. And okay, oh, this will definitely be an alien story, like, which is where I was leaning, but I wasn't 100% sure. And then you get into it, and this goes back to, I think you said it really well, man, about Spielberg's history and his ability to tell stories with the camera, and all of that is just so right on. But it's really frustrating because what I also experienced in this movie was he's still locked into a very old way of thinking about adventure. I think modern adventure stories and sci-fi stories have moved past the way we used to do things, which was, this is a lot of traditional adventure beats where G-men are chasing someone to cover up secrets. The train jumping sequence was super classic 80s, 90s adventure storytelling, right? Where it's, trust me, jump, no, jump. And they jump and they make it. And it's at no point, I mean, there was a little bit of tension there. I don't want to, lie, because he's Spielberg. He still is going to manage to get something out of me. But mentally, I knew everything is going to be 100% fine. And if it wasn't for the way he shot it and cut it, there's no drama there whatsoever. Because we're like, I'm looking at Emily Blunt in a Spielberg movie. Like, I'm aware of what I'm doing here. And no part of me is like really that concerned that Spielberg is going to have someone get creamed by a fucking oncoming train. Like, no part of me is thinking that. And I love that you point, because I kind of forgot, but I love that you pointed out the creep sequence where he's creeping up to the house filled with 50 agents with conveniently their back turned. He's walking down a huge field. Like, it's the most wide open field in the world, on the phone, having a whole conversation, clicks, hangs up, and he looks up, and there it is. Like, all these trained government henchmen doing nothing. Like, they're all sitting on their hands, looking into the house that they know is empty, right? They've already cleared the house, and now they're just still staring at the house, waiting for him to, like, David Copperfield his way into that thing. Like, I don't know what they're expecting. And as a viewer, I'm keenly aware of all that. And so, great. You're absolutely right to point that out. It was an egregious storytelling moment from Spielberg. I'm, as far as the lighting goes, I'm kind of a little bit here, a little bit there. This is kind of what I expect from a Spielberg film. And so I will admit, at that point in the house, when there's like these crazy camera flares, honestly, in theater, my first thought was, Todd's not gonna like this. I just fucking,
you knew.
Yeah,
you knew.
I knew, and it's fine. But for me, that's kind of what I expect. And I also debated, because I took a lighting workshop from his gaffer. This movie was gaffed by Steve Ramsey, and I got to take a lighting workshop from him, I think like last year before, maybe. It was it might have been 2 years ago or last year. I 100% forget. But he's so good. But it's him executing Janusz's style. And he made a lot of interesting comments about, like, when you're working on a Spielberg film, he's looking for the impossible. Like, it's fun as a gaffer to execute some of these ideas, because he's like, every day, it felt like I'm doing something I've never done before. And I'm like, okay, how are we going to do this? It takes a lot of planning, it takes a lot of thought, and it takes a lot of conversations. And he gets to sit and watch Spielberg and Kaminsky discuss, and it's fun. But for us as filmmakers, you have to be very careful what you take away from some of this stuff, because they are literally doing impossible things where you and I are looking at and like, how did he like this? You know how he lit it? With a lot of CG, because there's times whenever there's lights in the shot that just get digitally erased. And it's stuff that we're not doing. Like I'm not taking any of that into post. And so you have to be very careful on what you're taking away from how he decides to light and execute that stuff, because he has tools that us on our $50,000 movie, we're just not going to have access to. I mean, you could, but you're getting dicey, right? One of my last films, my last short film, like I was talking to my DP, he was like, oh, we could shoot it like this. And he was like, wait, can you erase lights in post? And I was like, I can, but with the lenses we're shooting, we're going to have a lot of flaring. And so realistically, I'm just not going to be able to do that without destroying the shot. He was like, oh, okay, yeah, the flaring that makes sense. I'm like, okay, cool. And so we had to think through that stuff before we got onto set. And I just had to know my own personal limitations, not just with budget, but also with my own skill set. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to rely on me potentially butchering this thing. So let's make sure we take that into consideration. But yeah, I'm largely on your side. Like, this just wasn't a compelling movie. And when I say it could have been an email, I really just mean that I got to the end of this film and I feel like that's what the first act should have been. Like, we didn't need 2.5 hours to execute this idea, because I agree with you, man. Like, this really should have been how we're reacting to it. And all we really saw was how the government reacts to it. And they do it in a way that we expect. The government is classically not going to be someone friendly, not just with other foreign entities, but also with its ability to share it with the rest of the world, let alone, and it's the same thing, but with its own citizenry, right? Like, we know they're going to find out something and then withhold it. And then we're going to have to go through a million layers of bureaucracy to find out anything. But I also just don't think it's this level of conspiracy. And honestly, watching this movie, I didn't really think it was about aliens. Like, I thought aliens were a placeholder for a number of things, mainly the sanctity of life, right? Aliens are a placeholder for animals, and that's why they come to us as animals. This was maybe some metaphor for animal rights, or children and protecting children, or foreigners coming here and getting treated with so much contempt. All things that are perfectly great conversations. And if it hadn't been for a couple of videos popping up in my feed, I would have assumed that. But finding out that, nope, this is really about aliens really surprised me. And man, I love Spielberg so much, and he is forever a god in my eyes. Like, I just don't think the government's that good at holding on to this major of a conspiracy theory. I just don't think they discovered aliens in the 50s or any time since and managed to keep it in wraps. Like, all of these UFO releases, it's nothing. There's just no way aliens got here to the planet, traveled intergalactically, and then got captured by us, who can't even get oil out of a river in the middle of the country. Like, I'm sorry, it's not possible. We're not that good at keeping secrets, and we're not that good at holding intergalactic species with our, pea shooters. Like, no part of me believes that this alien technology exists and they couldn't figure out a way to escape containment. No, absolutely not. But I will say the most effective parts of this movie were those shots of looking at the aliens being harmed. Like, that wrecked me. I will not lie at all. Like, that really did fuck me up. I got teary-eyed. I don't remember if I actually cried, but I was certainly on the cusp. I was so upset.
I did too.
Right?
Yeah.
Same thing with you.
So if that was the most impactful part, and it was what, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So I guess my point is, like, okay, so this is a story about, maybe this is not totally reality, because like the government in this space could keep the secret for 79 years. Fine. But that's not the story that you're telling, and I don't know if it's the fault of marketing or I don't know if it's the fault of just the story. Like if you watch it through the lens of, like, say the marketing was not centered around aliens. Say the marketing was centered around, like a secret, or something like that, or like a government operation or something. I don't know. And it turned out to be alien that we find out, like, towards the end. Like, that's a much more interesting prospect, right? Because it's much more relatable to real life.
Yeah.
I'm not
Right.
not my real life, but like real life in general. It's much more understandable, and it's the story that you're kind of telling in the first place. Like, you're already telling this story. You're not telling an alien story. You're telling a response to finding out, but you're not even giving us that response. We don't see it. We don't see how the world reacts. We just, and her, I mentioned this earlier, just her bringing up the fact that it might create this, and why, because we're society who, like, worships a god, right? And now and thinking that we are the center of the universe, and now we're finding out that we're not. It's like finding out that the Earth is not the center of the solar system. Like, oh, we don't all revolve around the Earth. I wonder how people would react to that. It's the same thing, but we don't get to see the reaction. It's just like, was it the fault of marketing, or was it the fault of the story? Maybe it's the fault of both. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it goes back to the story level in terms of, like, I would put the fault on Spielberg as much as, the marketing maybe didn't set our expectations properly. I still think Spielberg chose to tell a story where largely nothing happens for 2 hours. And then for 20 minutes, we're in the thick of it. And that's a failure of understanding modern cinema, I think, to think that you're going to be engaging for that long. Like, if this were a 90-minute movie, I think I'd be a lot more forgiving. But whenever you take 2.5 to tell this kind of story, I just think you're misunderstanding what makes for compelling cinema. And we've gotten to a place where we no longer are curious about the potential for life out there. We're more interested in what that means. To your point, what does it mean to us? What does it mean to technology? Like, okay, we're going to interact with them. What does that look like, right? When you start thinking about Arrival and a number of other, Ender's Game, or a number of other interpretations of interacting with alien life, we have gotten to so many more interesting questions. And this doesn't really ask any of them. And that's really frustrating, because when the movie started, that opening frame, I was very interested in where this was going, because that opening frame is black and then a boot stomping on our face, right? And then we're in this wrestling match, which is staged violence, right? And it becomes this cover scenario for an exchange of state secrets in exchange for the life of a hostage. Like, oh, okay, that's where this is going. But that first frame, I'm thinking, is this a story about us being stomped on by aliens? Right? Is that where this is going? Because that created a lot of tension in me. Like, oh man. And instead it's the inverse. It's us what does it feel like to be stomped on? That's the empathetic question that it's really getting at, is we're stomping on aliens. That's us, humanity, treating aliens. And I thought the opening scene could have been a much more interesting element of news media. And I think it was kind of getting there, but didn't really drive home anything important, which was, if wrestling is staged violence, then and people are there for the entertainment, then I think that could be a really interesting commentary on the media and how we consume it. Like, are we consuming media for entertainment value, or are we trying to get something real out of it? Because the blending of staged media, right? Staged violence of media, of it's trying to entertain us instead of being formative, is a really interesting comparison. Like, we're watching something and pretending it's real in both instances. And we don't really get into that much. Like, it's pretty subsurface stuff and it's so close. Like, Margaret Fairchild is a journalist. Well, she's a weather woman who kind of gets it wrong, but then it turns out being right. Like, okay, so I get the parallel there with conspiracy theories turning out to be true, but it just doesn't really land any strong punches that makes me reconsider my view of media or, I don't know, the government. Like, this doesn't, it's at best preaching to the choir. And to some degree, and this goes back to your comment, I think, on Jane Blankenship, which the naming convention here is kind of hit or miss. Like, Blankenship, I think, is a really nice name for someone who's wrestling internally with her beliefs of the world, right? She was a nun, she left, and now she's being confronted with aliens, but she had never really given up on God. And so I like the idea that there's something blank within her that is a slate and that she's trying to discover. And I like the idea that someone with some belief isn't entirely threatened, finds out that she's not entirely threatened with her own truth by finding out the existence of something that contradicts it. And she finds a way to make peace with it. I think that's a really good message to be driving. And I thought they did a decent job of, executing that whole idea, right? Because at the end, she's the one that allows the truth to come out, which is a really strong decision for that character to go from, I don't know how I think about this. This is a big contradiction in my own faith. Even though I left being a nun, it's not because I stopped believing in God. I just had a different view of what that meant for my life and what God was than the Catholic Church, so to speak. And so she has to make a really strong decision there at the end where everything's lost, and then she steps up, boom, give them the truth, and she passes the baton, quite literally. And that's great. I thought that was solid. But everything around it was just, I don't know, not really landing any punches for me, especially when you start talking about the media's involvement in all of this. And I don't know, seeing how the aliens interact with us was super confusing. Are they trapped or are they not? Can they actually get us to understand? And if so, I don't really understand why Margaret and Daniel were the only conduits that they could do this through. Like, I didn't see their specific necessity as being the obvious solution, because what Margaret did to Scanlon, there's absolutely no reason the aliens couldn't have done to Scanlon and saved themselves a long time ago. Like, at no element does it make sense why we're so restricted to these characters, because Margaret's going through and just carving a path like, a hot knife through butter. And so I wasn't as bothered as you were about why Scanlon backed down. I thought the impression was there. What really confused me is why it didn't happen 60 years ago, 70 years ago. Like, why now? Okay. So they have all this incredible technology to speak through animals and to make this bird wake up this sleeper cell and Margaret.
Yeah.
But nobody else. All right. I guess. Yeah. So the other thing that I thought was interesting that, again, it just didn't make sense was Daniel himself. Like, I was getting very big Snowden vibes from him. And I was like,
very big.
Oh, what else is this going to lead to? And I just thought it didn't really lead to anything. And that's why I think frustrated me about this could be a really interesting metaphor for government secrets and government cover-up and media complicity with that. And instead, it just, I don't know, did none of that. It was just, yeah, government does that sometimes, but, it's kind of okay because that's...
Well, and also, just to go back really quickly to them, after he saves her, they go to that hotel room that I said that I liked all the shots in. He gives her the device, right? But not all of the footage.
Oh, right.
It's all in the bag that they then get because they get him. So then later when Margaret goes, which is hilarious, honestly, like she gets onto the base, drives right up to where they are in the trailer, walks into the trailer and like basically just takes him out, right? Does he grab the bag with all of the footage in it? I don't know how he gets that footage back. But then they don't let them leave. And then she just like turns into somebody that every single individual recognizes, and then they just let her go. Like, that is so thin. Yeah. It is so thin on story. There's no reason why, like, I would look at that and say, wait a minute, you were just another woman and now you're my daughter? That's crazy. Wait, don't leave. Like, why would I would stop you for a different reason. I would stop you because, like, I want you here, because if I really believe you're, my estranged daughter or something. Like, I wouldn't just let you walk past, I'm sorry, and then just, like, drive away. And if I was Scanlon and I saw my dead wife, I also wouldn't want you to leave. I would be like, what is happening right now? No sense at all. But anyway, I don't know how they got that footage back. I guess he took the bag when he left, maybe. Yeah, so there's a bunch of holes everywhere. And to your point, I don't think this needed to be 2.5 hours. There were parts where I was just like, oh my gosh, what it was going on. I think if you took everything and you just scrunched it down 2 minutes, then you'd have an hour and 40-minute movie, hour and 45-minute movie. That would be awesome. Yeah. But this idea that you need 2.5 hours, to tell a movie like this doesn't make sense. You're right. It could have just been, like something shorter. Anyway. Yeah.
I think this is just, we're trying to make a new, Indiana Jones, for lack of a better comparison, in 2026. And it doesn't have any of the charm and any of the payoff. Like, I need more reason. This is just kind of one long MacGuffin film, where the payoff is everything we've ever thought before. Like,
there needs to be, like, either constant action or very little. Right? It's like right in the middle of, like, there's enough action to, like, now there's action, and then, like, 30 minutes later, now there's action, and 30 minutes. It's like, there should be, like, it should all be about dialogue and asking questions, searching for answers and everything. Or it should be constant action, trying to get this thing, which is not, and we have two different things. We have the video, which is the real stuff, right? It's like the real stuff. And then we have this bar, this, like, alien bar thing that nobody's going to look at and say, oh, that's alien. It has to actually do something, right? And it does at the end, but all of us in terms of the world don't ever see that. She uses it to turn the power back on, but that's it. So me, as like a living person in the world, I don't care about that. What I care about is the footage I'm seeing. So that's the real gold, right? Then they do a good job of saying, this is not AI. We've been able to test. We're looking. There's no AI pixels. This is actual legit footage, and they say that, and that's great. But, like, so my point is that me as a world, citizen, I don't care about the bar, which is what they're saying is, like, the most important thing. I care about the footage, and that seems like almost an afterthought. But it should be the footage never leaves me. I have to, it gets taken away multiple times. I have to find a way to get it back, but it's about the footage, right? Because that's the thing that, like, convinces people in the end. Yes, that we have an alien stand up at the end, but really that's the icing on the cake. What it is the footage. So why is it all about this bar? Yeah. Like, it should be, yeah. Anyway.
And to that end, like, there's other moments that I'm like, there was no reason to drag this out. Like, Kellner took forever to tell his girlfriend about the aliens and what he had. And
no reason.
Like, why are you withholding? Okay. Like,
and then literally he's like, I'll tell you, or like she's like, there's going to be a time where I ask and you're going to tell me. Literally the next day, the next morning, not even the next, just like afternoon, the next morning. Why not just tell me now? Like, why am I like, what? And not even anything crazy happened. It was just, you get in this car with this guy. He drives you to this place and drops you off. Okay. I can't wait any longer. It's been 7 hours. Can't wait any longer. I'm sorry. I feel like a jerk, but like, this is stuff that, like, if you don't see it while shooting, you see it on the cutting room floor. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Anyway.
It is really frustrating, just every step of it. And at the heart of it, I think there's something really good, but I just think it needed a page one rethink on why we're telling the story and what we're wanting people to walk away with. Because if the big thing there is aliens are real, I don't think this movie pushed me any closer to thinking we've had those encounters. Like, I certainly think alien life is real. We've talked about this, a dozen times on the show. I still think it's out there. I just don't think we've seen it here on Earth. I thought the big reveal, honestly, if I thought this was going to be about aliens, I expected to find out the big secret, the big disclosure was that panspermia was real and that we only evolved here because alien life seeded us here. And I thought that was going to be the big, like, oh crap, we're a part of something bigger than ourselves. And the way our minds have been thinking about humanity is close, but not quite. But that little bit of difference, that 1 degree shift, changes the way we think about ourselves entirely.
Totally, man. Totally. There needs to be a reason why you make the movie. What is the reason? It feels like the reason of this movie is just to raise the question of what would you think? How would you respond? But that's not a good question, because we're already asking that question, and you're not giving us any other information other than this fantastical stuff that's not in our reality outside of this movie. Yeah. So what we need is either something that's outside of this movie that you're bringing in, like an idea, like panspermia, which would be sick, which would be awesome, or something that's internal, that I already think, or I am already, imagining, or I'm already calibrating in my mind of like this could possibly be. So you're either giving me something that's actually, exists outside of me and outside of the movie, or that exists outside of the movie that's within me, but you're not giving me either of those things. You're giving me something fantastical that is only within the movie. Yeah. This bar and this footage of these creatures, which with the footage that we have is not of creatures. The footage that we have is grainy footage of these dots that are flying around and whatever. That's it. That's all we get. Yep. So it's just very thin in that regard, and it makes me upset because you look at something like Close Encounters and you think that is convincing. There is so much in that movie, and it is that if you want an alien movie, go watch that movie. That has heart. It has internalization. It has questions that they don't answer, questions that they do, but they do in a way where you can either see it or not. You cannot help but walk away from that movie asking questions and thinking about things. Yeah. And I just don't feel like that.
No,
about this one.
No. My last little note is really about some of the blocking. And it's, again, I said it was going to be simple, and it's going to be simple. But Spielberg is so good at the simple things, and he makes everything look so easy. And this was with cars. There was a scene there towards the end, I think it was towards the end, where they pull up to the news station. Was it KVCXE or something? And all these G-men pull up in their black cars. And I was like, oh, that was nice. So whenever the blocking of the scene just really impressed me, because there's, I don't know, let's say 10 cars pull up. And the way he staged it was one car pulls up parallel almost to the screen, or not parallel to the screen, but perpendicular. And the car behind him swerves around and comes in and cuts it off at an angle. And then all these other cars kind of fill in and park. And I just thought that was a really lovely way to stage that, because it's so much going on. What you don't want is that first car to pull up all the way up to the camera and then have more and more stuff happening behind further and deeper into the camera, because the further away something is, right? Kind of the Hitchcock rule is the closer something is to the camera, the more important it is. And the further away something is, or farther away, the less important it is. And that's just a lot of ways to think about that. One, story significance, but also it's significant in the sense of it's drawing your eye. And so if something small is happening farther away from the camera, it's just not as interesting, right? It's not drawing your eyes quite as strongly. And so by the way he blocked it, he could have had that first car come in at an angle, but then everything happening behind that gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Instead, having that first car stop short, having the next car swerve around, pull right into the camera, now you have a lot of visually interesting things happening. One, the angle of that car coming in second and cutting off the first car is just pulling up. There's so much more happening in the frame at that point, and it's not being lost in the depth. Instead, it's getting closer to parallel. And so it's eating up a lot of the frame. We have our most important characters stepping out. And that way you can still have things happening right there in front of the frame, even as more and more things are happening in the back. And now you have layers of blocking happening so that something's happening short and something's happening deep. And that's Spielberg, just does a great job of making sure there's so many layers happening in the frame. And I thought if you just study it on a composition level, it makes sense to have something strong happening right there at an angle. And then as it gets deeper and deeper, there's no big gaps. Because if you have that first car parking, long ways looking into the camera, then you kind of start building up these weird gaps in the composition. Whereas having that next car come around and park a little at a slant, no gaps. Now there's not a bunch of street eating up the frame. Instead, you have a bunch of car eating up the frame. And now you can have people start filling in some of that blocking, and some of those gaps that are creating in these are created in by these cars parking, next to each other. Yeah, that's just a very simple, you could do this in probably all of his scenes and find out ways that he's creating interesting compositions that also don't become boring very quickly. It's just smart, simple storytelling from a director level of hey, let's make sure, whenever we have all this stuff happening, that the composition doesn't suffer for it, and that the audience finds it exciting from soup to nuts. Yeah. That's about all I have, man. I think we've pretty thoroughly
done our job.
That's the polite way to say it. Nice. What are you going to recommend this week?
I'm going to recommend this show that I'm just in love with right now, called Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen on Netflix. Which, have you watched it?
I have not.
It's fantastic. It's the same director as Baby Reindeer, so looks really interesting. The acting is superb. This new actor, Camilla Baroni, I don't know if she's new. I don't know. I haven't seen her in anything else, but Jesus, she's fantastic. I just love her in this role and what she's doing. It's just so good. It's an eight episode series, about 50 minutes per episode or so. And it's interesting. It's really interesting. So
nice. Yeah, I loved her in Mickey and the Bear. She is so good.
Yeah.
So I didn't know she was in that, so I will be watching that now. Great reco. I'm going to recommend an old film. It's an old David Lynch film, and it's absolutely incredible. It's called The Elephant Man. And so if you haven't seen The Elephant Man, it's amazing. Watching this movie, Disclosure Day, with the aliens being harmed, it made me think of The Elephant Man. And it's really about a guy who is born with a condition. I think it's elephantiasis, which is why they call it The Elephant Man. And it's based on a real story. It takes place in the 19th century. And it's heartbreaking. It's about a guy who's suffering and how he's ostracized and treated by society, and how one person takes him, I think he's a scientist or a doctor, and he's studying him, and it's Anthony Hopkins. You're not going to go wrong with Anthony Hopkins. But it might surprise you if you've only seen David Lynch's other works, but never got around to The Elephant Man. You will be surprised at how he's telling a very traditional narrative, and it's so heartbreaking and beautiful. And so if you want something that is based on reality and is about how we treat others, I don't think you'll get much better than The Elephant Man. So,
great suggestion. I haven't actually seen that, so I'll cue it up.
Yes. Stay tuned for next week. We're going to go back to Toy Story. We're going to see the new one, Toy Story 5, and see how this plays in. I don't know. We did Toy Story 4 recently, so I'm curious. I'm in the mode. For some Woody.
Me too. I've been watching a bunch of horror stuff lately,
right.
so this is going to be nice.
It'll be a good switch up. And if you're enjoying the show, don't forget, drop us a review. And if you want to comment on this episode and see what show notes we got, you can see that at thepestlepodcast.com/disclosure day.
And our quote of the day is from Steve Jobs. Love pretty much any quote from Steve Jobs, honestly. When you're young, you look at television and think there's a conspiracy. The networks have conspired to dumb us down. But when you get a little older, you realize that's not true. The networks are in business to give people exactly what they want. Very true. It's similar to like the idea of, you heard the idea of, like, you know, when you go into an audition as an actor, they want you to do well. Mm-hmm. They want you to be right. Yeah. You know, they want you know, it's just, it's that way with everything else. Like, if I listen to a new band, I want them to be really good. It's their job to convince me that they're not, right? It's not their job, but like, they'll only convince me that they're not. It's, you know, the same here. Like, why are we really, is everyone conspiring to, like, dumb us down or together? Like, no, nobody cares about everybody else enough to do that. They just want, what do you want? We're trying to give you that. You know, like, it's up to you and how you respond that tells us if we're doing the right thing or the wrong thing, or if we need to change or pivot or whatever. That's marketing, man. Yeah.
I completely agree. Like, it's, people are making what you want to consume, ultimately, right? Politicians are going to do the things that they think you want them to do. They pivot on a dime year after year. Like, we've seen politicians go from being anti-gay marriage to pro-gay marriage. Do we really think they really changed their mind on anything? Or are they just reflecting what you're wanting from them? That's everything we consume, whether it's TV, politics, relationships, like religion. Absolutely. Like, these things are just reflecting what you want. And so if you want to believe conspiracies, they will give you all the reasons to believe in them. And if you want to, whatever you're consuming, you have to go out of your way to look for contradicting ideas. And so, networks are in business to give you exactly what you want. I think that's very wise, and you can take that to the bank. You won't go wrong.
True. This is fun. Sorry. We love you, Spielberg. We really do.
We're not jerks. We promise.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Please share us with your friends, subscribe, review us wherever you get your podcasts, as long as 5-star. I appreciate that. And if there's a film that you'd like to see us talk about or pick apart, let us know. Maybe we will cover it one day. Until next time, I'm Todd.
I'm Wes.
Go watch some movies.